What's up everybody? Welcome back to Make It Kustom. I'm Carl Fisher and today we are gonna build some inner bracing similar to the Model A. If you haven't seen the Model A, Christina's probably clipping in some inner bracing right now. It all looks fancy, it's got holes everywhere, it's bent, it has curved flanges on everything. I know it looks complicated and quite impressive, but it's pretty fucking simple. I think what everybody's kind of wondering about is the curved flanges, so this is what we're gonna go over. We're gonna make a similar piece to what is in there, but what I like to do is I like to use 16 gauge steel, inner bracing, it's structural, 16 gauge, thicker, better. That's all 2.5 inch. I use flat bar to bend that over. When it goes to curve, I just cut that curve out and I weld in a flange. So I'm gonna draw this out, I'm gonna make a funky whatever design here, and then we're gonna dimple die it with the tool that we made on the last video. So let's get into the video. You guys are gonna like this one. It's pretty easy to do cool looking stuff like that if you think about it in a simple way. Let's do it. I want to explain my template thought process here. This is going to be similar to the X-brace in the Model A. So what I've done and marked out is basically, this is going to become a channel. We're going to break the edge. All these edges are going to be broken and we've got 1/2 inch there. The other part that you're probably asking about is these curved areas. What's going on? How are you going to do that? If this hammer form that we were doing had that radius, you could beat this edge all the way down and break the 90 on that radius. You can definitely do that, and that is an option, and that is something that I've done before. But it's a little bit more difficult to prepare for that, because to really hammer on 16 gauge and break an edge like that by hammer forming, you need for sure to be using steel or something much harder than just wood. I mean, if you use some wood and some heat, anyway, it's kind of messy. It's a little bit difficult to do. If I wanted to do that, I would cut that radius out of steel, clamp it on both sides, and hammer until my arm was sore, making all these radiuses. But that's why this way we're gonna do it is gonna be a little bit easier. We're using flat bar to clamp, so I've got a 2.5 inch gap here. I'm gonna sandwich the metal, flat bar on the bottom, flat bar on the top. We're gonna break the edges over only on the straight sections, and we're gonna cut out the radiuses. And be it 16 gauge, what I'm gonna do is just make a 1/2 inch flange out of 16 gauge, 1/2 inch wide, and I'm gonna bend it to that radius and just weld it right on there. 16 gauge is beautiful for fusion welding, so I'm gonna TIG weld with fusion and just buzz it in. It's gonna be beautiful. If you're using a MIG welder, that's fine too, not an issue. Just be careful grinding it that you get a nice radius, that's all it is. It's gonna look really cool. So I've also marked out a bunch of spots where we're gonna pop holes in it and use our new Dimple die. And that's what we're gonna do next. So I'm gonna trim this out, transfer it onto some sheet metal, and then we'll cut it out and start hammering it around our flat bar. This board is a little bit thicker than the stuff I use for making patterns for sheet metal. This stuff I just buy from the dollar store. It's just regular old poster board, but it's nice because it's a little bit thicker. Your Sharpie doesn't fall off it when you're trying to trace it out. So of course we could just break this edge with the brake. You know, this is something you can do without having to own a brake. The other thing is some of the panels that are inside of that Model A, like the side panels that are on the insides of the quarters, they have, you know, complete circles in them that you wouldn't be able to break with a brake. The only way is to do it with hammer forming. So it's good to know, you know, an easy way to make yourself a little hammer form, especially for channel shaped braces like this. Okay, got this chunk. I'm going to grab a piece of sheet metal. I like magnets to help hold the stuff in place, especially when it's a flimsy, floppy one like this one. I buy these at on Amazon. They're super cheap. think they're for crafts, for making refrigerator magnets and stuff like that. I'm gonna cut this out with a angle grinder, just because these radiuses have to happen. They'll be a little bit tricky. I could probably use the power shears, but I'm gonna make some noise. Got our shape cut out. I'm just gonna deburr it a little bit, again with this little tool. Notice there's some definite cutters on there. All right, we are back at it. I got this piece all trimmed out, filed the edges. Take your time, make sure your corners are nice. Self-explanatory. Before we go and start bending our flanges, I'm going to just do a little pre-drill on all these holes. I'm gonna mark them and pre-drill them now. It's just easier. We got a solid surface under there. Once we bend the flanges, we won't be able to do center punches. Okay, and go along. Now, just to doubly make sure I'm not gonna miss my mark, because there's nothing worse than that. Next up, just gonna knock the burrs off of these right here. Use that little tool that I showed you earlier. All right, like I said before, this is 2.5 inch by 1/2 inch flat bar. This is cold rolled steel. You don't have to get cold rolled. I'm in the habit of saying it now because it's kind of sharper and nicer. It's more precise of a measurement, I guess. Not totally necessary for what we're doing here, but nevertheless, it's kind of nice. I'm just gonna line this up in the center. We sandwich the two pieces like this. Leave a 1/4 inch on each side, so like 2.5 inch bottom, 2 inch top, 1/2 inch thick, because you want it to be substantial enough to really hold its shape. So we just want to clamp it really good. You don't want that shifting on you. More clamps, the better. So I'm gonna add a couple more. Okay, I want to point out one more thing here. You don't have to do these clamps if you don't want to. You could drill through these bars and bolt them together. Since I'm putting dimple dyed holes in everything, I could have done that as well. But I'm just showing you this way because that's how I did the Model A. So, it's probably got enough clamps now. You can use body hammer, you can use whatever you want to fold this edge over. I might show you a couple of different ways since we're here doing a bunch of it. Okay, so the first way I'm gonna show you is just with a hammer. Very simple. You don't want to hit directly on the corner. If you don't have to, you can kind of just keep tipping the edge all the way over. This is how I do it. I don't know if it's the right way, the wrong way, whatever. So I'm just going to hit a bunch of it over and just slowly work the edge. Because you've got such a thick piece on the top and the bottom, I'm not worried about stretching it or whatever. It's going to be what it's going to be when it comes over. It's being held in place. Yeah, you just work it over. That one's good. Doesn't look like anything's moved. We're good there. Another way you can do it is use a little bit heavier hammer and hold on to something a little bit wider, such as this, if you wanted to. You could use that. Work your way along. So you don't even have to have a body hammer to do this, is what I'm trying to say. You don't need special stuff. You just gotta kind of problem solve your way through whatever you're making. That's part of the fun of metal shaping, really. I think, anyway. I'm gonna spare you the time. We're gonna hit time lapse, get her all done, and then we'll start punching holes. Well, actually not punching holes, we'll start filling corners right after. "100% good enough," as we say in this shop, when something's not quite perfect, but we're gonna keep moving. All right, that's what we've got. All of our flanges bent. We've got all of our holes marked where we're gonna go. So next step is I'm going to shear some little strips that we're gonna bend and just weld in here. I'm gonna use a TIG welder, you can use a MIG welder, whatever, but we're just gonna bend these, weld them in. Our brace will be done and then we'll dimple die. Okay, here's our strip material. Give it a little bit of a roll. So I'm just gonna match up that radius a little bit. That's pretty close there. Okay, I'm gonna start fitting these together. We'll get the TIG going here. Okay, we're looking pretty good now. We got these pieces welded in. I just did TIG. I filled a little bit with 040 wire. I'm just running a 1/16 tungsten, either the blue tips, the red tips I like to run. I think the red tips are 2% thoriated, and I think the blue ones are 2% lanthiated. God knows what that means, but that's what I use. And about 65 amps, I just pulsed it in there. These are mostly just welded with fusion. Anywhere where my fit was nice, I just pulsed it. You can see each little dab is a pulse. It almost radiuses, you know, when you do it that way. That's why I did it that way. MIG welding, you can do it. It just means more grinding, that's all. So I'm gonna grind these up now and then sand it all. And then it's dimple time. Let's do it. Okay, we're almost there. Little love with the D8. All right, this thing is looking good. You like that little trick with the flanges, don't you? I know you do. I like it too. Okay, this dimple die, if you have not seen, it's probably linked at the end of this video, how I made this. This is a dimple die we made in the last video. I'm not gonna explain it too much, it's just a dimple die. So, this one I made just to smash with a hammer, so that you can do it just on the table. You could use a press or whatever, doesn't matter. Our $20 dimple die. Yeah, that's better. All right. Well, there it is. That is how I built the bracing for the Model A. Actually, we had another guy working here, Dan. He helped build some of the bracing as well. But this is how we did it. 16 gauge, it's nice and strong. Dimple dyed with our homemade dimple die. Christina did notice that some of them are just a tiny bit offset. Reason being, I'll explain it to you right now, is that I didn't drill all these holes to perfect 1.25 inches. I used this hydraulic knockout tool, which you saw me use. Sometimes it's a little bit sloppy, like it's a knockout tool for electrical boxes, so the sizes are not perfect to standard 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, that sort of thing. So I found one that was pretty close, and it's just a little bit on the big side. So if I didn't take my time to center the die to do those punches, you'll notice that some of them are a little bit offset. I mean, other than that, I was just rushing it, but I think it turned out awesome. That's how you make that bracing. I think this is a really cool trick that hopefully you guys will use on your own projects. This flange technique. If you saw the van video, I did it there as well, because when I use 16 gauge, tipping a flange, it's not very easy. 18 gauge is a little bit easier. Thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom. Hopefully you really enjoyed this one. I like making stuff like this because of how cool it looks when we're done. It took way longer than we thought it would. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching Make It Kustom, everybody. Don't forget to like, click subscribe, hit notifications. We'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Hey everybody, I'm just going to quickly interject before we end this video. I just want to let you guys know that Speedline Filmworks has released another supporting video to the Metal Reborn documentary. It's live right now. Speedline Filmworks YouTube or metalreborn.com. Go check it out. It's called The Medium. It's kind of all about my love of metal and what fabricating means to me, why I love different kinds of metals, and how to work with them. Please go give them a subscribe, a like. They're really cool guys, and they'll be releasing more and more footage as time goes on. So thanks a lot, everybody, and I appreciate your patience. I love all the comments I'm reading. I'm still checking them. I just don't have time to answer all of them right now just because we're in the move, but we are getting there. A couple more days and we will be out of here, and then we're setting up the shop. I'll do a little video, give you guys a tour of the new digs. Everybody out there commenting, liking, sharing, all the feedback. Me and Christina just love it. This is our dream, building cars for a living and doing YouTube. It's awesome. So thank you very much, everybody, and we'll see you at the new shop.